So I used to live in Savannah, Georgia, and there's a bunch of quirky people that live there for sure. I had broken up with my boyfriend. He wouldn't move out of our shared apartment. That was my apartment. I decided I had enough and I decided to move in with my this lady that I knew through my boss. I worked at a real estate management company. That's how I found out about the apartment. But anyway, and she was like a former supermodel from the 1980s in New York City. She was also an alcoholic. She was really tall and beautiful in her mid 50s. And it was very bizarre living with her because I didn't really realize what an alcoholic meant exactly. I know it's a disease, but I didn't really know until I experienced her. One time she was like, I'm running to the grocery store. Do you want a snack? And I'm like, I'm okay. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna get a snack for myself. And she was wearing a nightgown with a coat over it and wearing a thong underwear as her scrunchie. And then she came back with her snack, which was just a bottle of vodka. She also had an 80-year-old boyfriend who was more like her sugar daddy because he was a millionaire. He had an elevator in his house. I got to see it, be in it. Her parents were in their 80s and they also gave her money. But when I moved in, she was like, "You're my new daughter now because my real daughter disowned me." And I was like, "This is great." So one time she went on. The other thing is, I should say, she was an alcoholic, so like she had two personalities, like her drunk self and her sober self. When she was sober, she would totally forget the things she would do as her drunk self. She also had this little cute dog that I kind of felt bad for, but he was really smart. He would walk himself to the park, to the dog park sometimes. Anyway, so one time we had a pretty cold winter for Savannah. She brought home this green lizard, and she's like, he's just asleep because it's so cold outside. She brought it home in a shoebox and she put it on the radiator, and it was on the radiator for a night. It got so hot that the lizard turned black, so I don't think she revived him. And then she put him in the freezer forever and then found it when she was sober and she wasn't happy. Another time, she also didn't really eat, so one time I came home from school and I smelled this roasting peanut smell, and I was like, is she cooking? That's odd. It just like, there's just this overwhelming smell of peanuts in the apartment. And then it turned out later on, I was like, what happened with those nuts? It was just like a sheet, like a baking sheet with just peanuts on it, no oil or salt or anything. So she just turned off the oven when she sobered up, and they just sat in the oven uncooked. So one day I had this friend that I met because he stayed at my apartment because I would Airbnb the living room out, and that's how we met. And then he moved to Savannah, and he moved in right next door to me and this lady. It was totally serendipitous on purpose. He made like these origami sculptures. He asked me if I wanted to go to Tybee for the sunrise, and I brought my camera. This is when 4K cameras were new. I took pictures of the sunrise on the beach, and it was really cool. And we were both like creating art. It was really awesome. And he wanted to continue making art, and he's like, do you know of any abandoned houses that we could like break into, because there are a lot of old abandoned two-story like mansions in Savannah, or there used to be. So I'm like, I don't, but I do know that my roommate, this woman, knows of one. Let's see if she's home. So we pull up to the apartment, and she's not there, but she pulls up like 2 seconds later right alongside us. After I'm like, she's not home, and then she pulls up right alongside us in her, she has, what is it called? It's station wagon, VW station wagon that is wood paneled. It smells really bad, and it turns out it's because the back is completely full of manure. There's flies around it, and it's sort of like, what is it called? I forgot the word. I can't remember the word. What is it? Oh, there's a gnat. Foreshadowing of what's to come. And she's like, I know there's this abandoned mansion. It's pink. She's been stealing parts of the fountain. She rolled it down the street. She's like, no one's gonna do anything with it. They're gonna gut it eventually. They just throw all that stuff away. So she like stole a really cute soap dish from there and like one level of this fountain to use in her own garden. So she's like, this is how you get in. You sneak up the outside stairs. It's covered in vines. It's on the back side of it, and then there's an open window. So she knew exactly how to get in. So we pull up to this pink mansion. We're going up the first flight of stairs. You should know there's like two levels of, it's like a wraparound porch on two levels. So we're going up the first flight of stairs, and all of a sudden we see like all these bugs, like gnats. But the stairs are completely covered in vines, so we can't see anything. And then we round the corner, and I am just totally horrified. Me and my friend are just staring. We're like, what the heck? And it looks like it's a dead body, but it's completely covered in bugs. And I thought that he was wearing knee socks, but like white knee socks, but actually his legs were covered in maggots, and that's how long the body had been there, just completely covered in bugs. It was something out of like a horror film. I took a picture. He's like, you shouldn't do that. That's so disrespectful. And I'm like, I know, but it's just, I've never seen this before. It was really weird because it was like his body was in rigor mortis. So it was like very stiff, and it looked like he was running and just fell forward. But like in this running, his arms and legs were bent, like in a cartoonish running format. And it looked like he had just tipped forward. So we call an ambulance. They're on the phone. They're like, can you tell if he's breathing? I'm like, he's completely covered in bugs. Like, there's no way he's alive. And then we were standing by this Airbnb, and the people who worked there came out. There would just be this waves of a smell, even though we were standing pretty far away, like across the street and further down some. And they were like, we've been smelling that all week. We just thought it was like a dead rat or something. And then the ambulance came, and they went and looked, and then I watched them do rock, paper, scissors. So to pick who had to turn the body over, they had to wear gas masks to do it. That's how badly the body had decomposed. They told us that he had been there for at least a week, like 7 days, and nobody had found him. And I was like, this is very sad. It's very Southern Gothic, if you will. They also asked us how we found him. We had to come up with some story because technically you weren't supposed to be on the property.